everyone, Chris here, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to this week's reading vlog. So this is actually going to be, I think, like a 9-day vlog, because if I did a 7-day vlog, I would have the 30th and the 31st left, and rather than lump them in with February, because I kind of like having my months contained, I'm just going to do a 9-day vlog to kind of wrap up January. So my main goals for the last 9 days of January are to finish my Phase 10 TBR. And here is where I am currently sitting. I need to finish these 4. So, I'm reading Royal Assassin for Booktuber Fave, and I am on page 122. It's Monday evening, so I've read that since, well, midnight. This is the second book in the Farseer trilogy, and we're following Fitz, who is the bastard son of one of the princes, and we're kind of following his journey. I really enjoyed book 1, and I'm so incredibly excited to be able to have dived into book 2. Then for Color Wheel, I have to finish Sir Cali and the Champions of Helston. I'm on page 33, and I'm very excited to continue with this one because the protagonist is non-binary, and I'm loving the non-binary rep. Then we have Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell, which I'm reading for Air in the title or on the cover, because to me that looks like a sky, which makes me think of air. This is also a winter cover, so I will be going into this blind because the cover gives me winter vibes. So I know nothing about it, though I do think it's a thriller. And then I need to read The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek for water on the cover or in the title, because creek is a kind of water. And this is a 5-star prediction. It's a historical fiction. I've heard really, really good things about it, and obviously I think I'm going to give it 5 stars, so I'm quite looking forward to reading that as well. So I think those are going to be the big things that I need to finish before January, because I don't want to have to put a punishment on the board. I'm going to hopefully be putting a reward on that board. So, in other news, one of the books I did finish for my TBR is The Lost Whale. I read this last night before bed. This follows a boy named Rio. Yes, whose mom basically checks herself into a mental hospital to get some help and sends him from London to California to live with his grandmother, her mother, who I don't think has seen since he was a baby, and he's really, really struggling with the fact that he can't help his mom and he can't be with his mom. And he ends up getting really into whales while he's there, one in particular, and it has a connection to his mom, and he feels like that if he can just remind his mom of those whales, he can fix everything. I gave this book 4.5 stars. It was really impactful, and it shows the impact a child has when they have issues with their parents, and kind of the unfortunate responsibility that they sometimes feel of taking care of their parents when it's supposed to be the other way around. I also really loved learning about whales, because you learn a lot about whales in this book. I love seeing the bond that Rio gets with whales in general, and how it kind of affects his own mental health, because he is really struggling with being in a new place with this grandmother he doesn't really know, and missing his mom, and not quite understanding the full scope of what's going on with his mom, and why his mom behaves the way she does, and why she needs to be in this hospital. So it was just a really intriguing look at things going... And again, we wouldn't have a video if Ellie wasn't in it. It's just a really intriguing look at whales and mental health, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed this, and enjoyed getting to learn something new, and kind of incorporating, like I said, that mental health aspect into it as well. I believe I was reading this for summer vibes for my Bookopoly spin, so this was also a prompt for Phase 10, so I checked that off. Then I started A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher, and I am on page 62. We're following a 14-year-old girl named Mona who works in her aunt's bakery and has a bit of baking magic, and comes in to start the day and finds a dead body, and ends up finding out that people with magic who are not exactly common may be targeted, and that may be why there was a body found in her bakery. So far, I'm enjoying it. I'm intrigued. I was not expecting our protagonist to be 14. I didn't really read the description. I just knew it was set in a bakery and had magic, and had a dead body, so I was thinking it was going to be like a cozy fantasy mystery kind of thing. So we will see. I was not, like I said, I was expecting it to be more adult, not YA. So we're going to see if I like this. And then the last update I have is that I've gone back to Unbirthday. I'm on page 264. Oh, so helpful. So this is a twisted tale that follows Alice in Wonderland and Alice being very, very late. I think I set this down in December, and I picked it back up because it was due back to the library, I think, Sunday. And I have no more renewals, so I kind of have to read it, like, now. Oops. This is feeling like 2.5 stars for me. I'm not massively enjoying this. If it wasn't part of a series, I'd have DNF'd it. But it is, and I will not read the next book in the series unless I finish this. So, we are going to persevere. Alice in Wonderland was never my favorite story growing up. It was never my favorite Disney movie. I legitimately can't tell you much about it. Like, I know I've seen the movie and I can, like, picture certain scenes from it, but, like, I don't remember Alice's story for the most part. It wasn't one that really made an impression on me. So, yeah, also, I think another thing I don't like about this is I'm a very logical person, and this is a very nonsense world, so I'm also not clicking with it in that sense. So, we're going to get through it, but it's not going to be my favorite, and I also think you should take my opinion with a grain of salt, because if you like Alice in Wonderland, you might like this book. I just know it's not really a book for me. So, yeah, that's a pretty decent update for it only being day one. I've read 25 pages of Royal Assassin. I've started A Wizard's Guide to Baking and made a little bit of progress on that. I read the entirety of The Lost Whale, and I have made some more progress on Unbirthday for the first time in like a month. So, all in all, I think it's a good start to the week, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I can get through my TBR in the next couple of days so that I can film phase 10 with confidence and know that I have kind of completed my TBR, or I'm definitely going to complete my TBR so that I can give myself my reward. But yeah, that's the plan, is TBR focused, and then if I have time, reading some of the other books I have that I would like to get to. The only other thing that I definitely think I'm going to make a priority this week is to finish The Longest Day, which is the last book in the Seeker series. I keep putting it off, and I just can't do it anymore. Oh, I just realized. I finished The Sea of Monsters. I should probably mention that. I'm giving it 5 stars. This was a reread. I meet my favorite character in this book, and I love them just as much on my reread as I did on the first go-round. It's just so much fun being back with Percy and Co. And I love how this book kind of ties up, and the kind of cliffhanger we get at the end that sets up book 3. I'm very excited to be reading book 3 next month. It's just really nice being back in this world with these characters. So, yeah, I probably should mention that I finished that as well. Like I said, it's been a very, very productive first 24 hours of the last 9 days of January. So hopefully, if every day is this productive, I might actually get through the rest of my TBR. Because if I read the rest of the books on my phase 10 TBR, and then finish Unbirthday, The Longest Day, and The Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, I have, 2, 3, I think, books that I have out of the library that weren't on my TBR. And then I have The Dark Deep, which I can get to, which is my last fall cover. The 4th book, I believe, 3rd or 4th book in the Wings of Fire series, which would be the only series I wanted to continue in 2023 that I haven't read a book for this month. And then if I'm feeling really ambitious, I can read Speaking Bones, but that's probably the least important priority of all those, so we will see how it goes. But yeah, I'm gonna go read and put this one down because she's very, very heavy. And she keeps digging her claws into my arm as she shoves herself up, or in my shoulder. So yeah, I'm gonna go, and I will check back in with you all soon. on Sunday morning, and I thought I would check in. I had planned to check in Friday, but I woke up Friday and my allergies were so bad that my ears were like plugged, and it meant that like my whole equilibrium is off. I had that same problem today, though right now it seems to be all right, so I figured I would squeeze in a quick filming and update you for my vlog. I'm really, really glad now that I filmed my TBR video Thursday, because there's just no way I could have done it yesterday or today. So, my update. First, I finished A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. I'm giving this 3.5 stars. This wasn't my favorite book. I was really... Hello, Porky. Are you going to be our special guest tonight? You're ready for your close-up, I see. Oh, right in front of the camera. Riveting content for you guys. Porky's side profile. Come on, Pork. Lie down. So I was really hoping to enjoy this more than I did. I went into it expecting it to be a cozy fantasy, and I suppose that it is to some extent. But I thought it was an adult and it's YA. We're following a 14-year-old named Mona who ends up finding a dead body in her bakery. And she has baking magic and soon learns that somebody's trying to take out anybody that has magic and has to kind of get to the bottom of that. And it was a quick, easy read. It just... I don't know, it was just missing something. I think it wasn't quite the cozy fantasy I was looking for, but it also wasn't a cozy mystery the way I normally read cozy mysteries. So it just... I don't think it worked for me, but it wasn't a bad book because, I mean, I finished it. It's not one I could see myself rereading, and I wasn't particularly attached to Mona, which didn't help. So I think that was a huge part of the problem. Was I went into it expecting a different kind of book than what I got. I was expecting it to be a different age category than what I got. And then on top of that, it wasn't enough of a cozy fantasy for me to enjoy it that way. And it wasn't enough of a cozy mystery for me to enjoy it that way. So it missed a lot of marks. But it wasn't a bad book, and I didn't hate my time with it. So I think 3.5 stars is probably a fair rating. Then I wanted to mention that I finished Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell and The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek. This is a winter cover. This is a 5-star prediction, so I will be talking about them in their own special vlogs. But I wanted to mention that I read both of them this week and have gotten through them. I believe this was on my TBR for Air in the title/cover. And then this one was on my TBR for Water in the title or on the cover. So these were 2 books off of my Phase 10 TBR. So I did want to mention for sure that I read them. Then I read Royal Assassin. So this is the second book in the Farseer trilogy. And I'm giving this book 4.5 stars. Oh my god. I'm so kicking myself for not reading this sooner. Like when everybody was doing the Elderling along, I saw how wrecked the Realm of the Elderling left people, and I wasn't into adult fantasy yet, so I just didn't think it was going to be for me. And then at the beginning of last year, I decided to check out A Chorus of Dragons and fell in love with adult fantasy. And well, I've read some that don't work for me because I very much do not like Mistborn. Or at least I didn't when I read it back in early 2019, I believe. And I hated Jade City. This worked for me. This series is definitely working for me. And the series follows Fitz, who is the bastard son of the prince and becomes an assassin for the king. I love Fitz. I adore him. I've really enjoyed his journey. I like the twists and the turns that it takes in this book. And my god, what in the blue hell is going to happen in book 3? Because, jeez Louise, man. This book ends on just like the most ginormous cliffhanger. But I'm going to find out what happens sooner rather than later. Because that's right, I've got book 3 out of the library, and it is the illustrated edition. So apparently there's going to be illustrations in here. I mean, I guess we'll see. I know that, like, I noticed that, like, the chapters, and when they start, have the blue edges. But it does say the illustrated edition, so We'll see if there's any other illustrations in here. Or if it's just, like, the outlines of the chapters. I mean, I'm not seeing any as I, like, randomly... Ooh. Wait. I think I found one. Where'd it go? I could have swore I just saw one. Yes, I found one. I don't know what it's of. I'm not going to keep looking because it's like halfway through the book, but I did find at least one illustration in here. Ooh, that's exciting. So I will probably be reading this next month, but you know, can't read it until February. So we're going to put that away because otherwise it's going to be very tempting to pick up. So yeah, finished this one. Absolutely loved it. Can't wait to finish the trilogy. And then the last book I have finished so far this week is on birthday. I finally finished it, guys. It only took me 40 days. I started this in the middle of December. This is a twisted tale that says, what if Wonderland was in peril and Alice was very, very late? I gave this 2 stars. And that's a generous 2 stars. I hated this book. I'd have DNF'd it if it wasn't part of a series. And I know that with the way the Twisted Tales works, the next book is not going to have anything to do with Alice in Wonderland. But the way my brain works says this is part of a series, which means I need to read this one before I can read the next one, even though they are not connected in any way, shape, or form. So I have now finished it. It's 2 stars. Didn't enjoy it. Alice in Wonderland was never my favorite fairy tale anyways. And there was just too much nonsense in this book. Which makes sense because that's what Wonderland is about. I mean, if you like Alice in Wonderland, you may really, really enjoy this. But Alice in Wonderland was never my favorite, so I was just aggravated throughout the whole thing. So I'm very glad to be done with it. And I can finally cross it off my TBR and bring it back to the library because it's overdue by like a week. Now, I've read some other stuff, though I'm not done with those books yet. First up, I've started The Dark Secret, which is the 4th book, I believe. Yes, 4th book in the Wings of Fire series. I'm on page 113, so decent progress. I think I'm like close to halfway through. This follows 5 dragonettes that are from different clans, and there is a prophecy about them, and they are kind of navigating their way through the world, and it's been very, very enjoyable to read. With this being book 4, it is extremely hard to talk about, because, you know, spoilers, but we're in a completely different character's point of view, which, if memory serves, each book has changed points of view, so I'm really enjoying getting to see things from this particular character's point of view. It's been a while since I've read book 3, so I'm trying to like jog my memory as to where we were and what was going on. But I'm enjoying being back with these characters and getting back into this world, and there's some interesting things going down, so I'm quite curious to see what's going to be happening next. Then I'm reading off TBR because I'm reading The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman. This is the 3rd book in the Thursday Murder Club. I'm on page 180. And this follows 4 septuagenarians who look into murders, and we're in the 3rd book. I had forgotten how much I loved being with this group of characters and what a group of characters they are. I'm listening to the audiobook for this one for the first time, and it is fantastic. I'm really loving some of the humor that it brings out in the book by having a voice actor do some of the scenes. I'm really, really enjoying being back in this world with these characters, because like I said, that they are quite the crew. I am very curious about one of the characters they've got interacting with them, and some of the things that has happened with said character, because I'm suspicious of them. So we'll see if my suspicions were right, or if it was just the way the character was written, like, because there can be suspicious but not in a malicious way, or suspicious as in I have a reason to be suspicious of them. They are involved in the murder that the Thursday Murder Club, which is the name for the 4 septuagenarians, is investigating in this one. So we shall see how it goes. So I have 3 days left in January. I want to finish both of these, and it's possible I will finish them both tonight. I'm definitely going to finish this one because, well, I want to know what's happening, and I'm really enjoying it, and I think I have a little over an hour left in the audiobook at the speed I'm listening to it at. Same with this one, so I might be able to finish both of them tonight. The other things I need to do for the rest of the month, TBR-wise, is finish Sir Cali and the Champions of Helston, because this is my book for Color Wheel for Bookopoly. I think that's the only book I need to finish TBR-wise. Like, this completes my Phase 10 TBR. Then, this would be my last series to continue, which would mean I completed all 5 of my series I wanted to read in 2023. And then I need to read The Stolen Slippers, because this is the 3rd series that came out of my TBR jar. So, I would really like to finish that this month. And I don't see why any of this would be particularly hard. Like I said, I should finish this tonight. I think audiobook-wise, this will take me like 3-ish hours. So not long at all. This is a middle grade, so this shouldn't take me long at all either. And so once I finish all of that, the only other thing I'm like really for sure going to do and get to is The Longest Day. I swear I'm going to finish The Longest Day before the end of January. Again, it's not that I wasn't enjoying it. It's that I'm sad because I get the feeling we're not going to be with these characters anymore and I'm not ready to let them go. So, that's my plan. I see no reason why this isn't doable. And then if I have time, I have no idea what I'm going to read. I certainly have plenty of books that I can get to. I'm like looking to see what's not on my TBR. And I have plenty of books down there. I don't think I will start this one until February, but I have, I'll show you my options in case you're curious. So Speaking Bones, and I don't think I'm going to pick that up because I could use a couple days break from reading adult chunky fantasy because I literally read Eye of the World, The Blade itself, and then Royal Assassin back to back to back. I've got Keeper of the Enchanted Rooms, which is, I think, a cozy fantasy. Show Us Who You Are, which is a middle grade contemporary. And Anne of Greenville, which is a Anne of Green Gables retelling that I have out from the library, that I've had out for the library for a little bit. So those are definitely options. I've also got Daughter of the Moon Goddess that I would like to get to because the read-along queens are reading it, and I did grab it. I just haven't picked it up yet. And then I have I'm Glad My Mom Died and Beyond the Wand, which are both autobiographies that came in at the same time and I was not expecting. So I have all sorts of options. I have 2 adult fantasies I could go with. I got a couple of middle grades I can go with, because I think, or YA. Yeah, this is teen. So YA, I have a middle grade, a YA, and an adult. Yes, an adult fantasy. This is an adult fantasy. Like, I have so many options, and I want to read them all, and there's just not enough hours in the day. And none of those are on my TBR for February. By the time you see this, my TBR will be out, so I can share that with you. But, oh boy. All of the options, man. So we'll see what I can get to, but I wanted to check in and let you know that I have made quite a bit of progress, and mainly that I finally finished on birthday and I don't have to read it anymore. Goodbye, I won't miss you. So yeah, that's where I'm at. We'll see how I can do in the last 3 days of January and see how much of my pile I can get through, and then what I choose to pick up after that. It'll all depend on what my mood and what book is speaking to me. So we shall see, and I will probably check back in with you at the end of the month. So it is now Wednesday, which means it is officially February, and it's time to wrap this vlog up. I have read quite a bit in the last few days of the month, so let's dive in and I'll share with you what I've read. First, I've finished The Dark Secret by 2T Sutherland, and I gave this book 3.75 stars. I'm still really enjoying this series. I like being with the dragons. This POV wasn't my favorite, which is I think why it got a bit of a lower rating. Some very interesting things happened at the end of this book that make me very curious as to what is going to happen with our dragonettes. In book 5, book 5. So, still very much into this series. I think I was like halfway through last time I checked in with you. No bookmark. Cool, I've took my bookmark out. But yeah, I was not expecting some of the things at the end, and they've definitely made me curious to see what happens next. Then I finished The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. So, I believe in the last clip I said that there was somebody I was suspicious of, but I didn't quite know whether it was a red herring or not. And I'm going to say that the person that did it, I never suspected. Not once throughout the entire book did I suspect the culprit of being the culprit. So, props to Richard Osman for just completely bamboozling me. I absolutely love this group of friends and the antics they get up to. It's absolutely hilarious, and it certainly makes for quite the interesting read. This book is no exception, and I love how they pull people who are in their orbit into this Thursday murder club and make them a part of their schemes. And it's so interesting how that happens in every single book, but it feels absolutely organic and like totally understandable that these random people would get involved in this group's schemes. I really, really, really enjoyed this book. Like I said, I love the relationship between the characters, and the mystery in this one was fantastic. So very much enjoyed this and looking forward to book 4 whenever that comes out. Then I read The Stolen Slippers by Melissa De La Cruz, and I gave this book 4.25 stars. This is the second book in the Never After series. And in this series, we're following, I believe, Philomena. Yes. Philomena, who is really into this book series, and she ends up finding out in the first book that the book series is true. That, like, the world that these books are centered around is real, and she ends up traveling to them and finds out that the stories that we've been told are not necessarily the true stories. And in this one, it's kind of a Cinderella retelling, and we're finding out the true story of Cinderella, and I really, really enjoyed this. I like getting to see Philomena try to navigate around this to her storyland, even though it's not a story, and realizing just how different the actual fairy tales are to the ones that we know from our world. I liked a lot of the characters we met in this one. I thought both friend and foe were quite interesting, and it was intriguing to see how Philomena and the crew interacted with them in both good and bad ways. I'm very, very curious about the next book in the series, because it feels like this is being woven pretty well, and I'm curious to see, like, what fairy tale we're going to be kind of debunking next, I guess. Once I picked this up, I didn't want to put it down either, which also always bodes well for a book. So yeah, another enjoyable read this week. I finally finished The Longest Day, and I cried. I'm giving this book 4.5 stars, so it really shouldn't be that big of a surprise. We have ended our journey with Cali, Lusa, and Toklo, and I'm going to miss them so much. It is very, very weird to know that their story is over, and this definitely makes it clear that their story is closed. I can't imagine there being another book kind of centered from their point of view. I don't know if we'll get another arc of 6, but if we do, I think if we see them, they would be more side characters than main characters. So, like, I definitely think these are the last stories from their point of view, and I'm going to miss these 3 so much. I really, really grew to love them throughout the 2 arcs. I really enjoyed how this arc wrapped up. Like I said, I cried. And I wasn't sure. Like, I spent this whole time wondering how this moment was going to play out, because it was very telegraphed from the beginning where we were going with this arc, and I just wasn't sure how that was going to wrap up, and I think that the Aarons did a brilliant job with it. It just made so much sense for the end to happen the way that it did, and I love this series so incredibly much, like way more than I thought I was going to based on my first read of it way back when. But I'm glad I went back to it. I'm glad I've read it, and I would totally be down to see the Aarons write something more in this world with various other characters, because it's just become a world I've loved quite a bit. So if they wanted to do that, I would be down to read it. And then the last book I finished in January is Sir Cali and the Champions of Helston. And I'm giving this book 4.25 stars. So in this book, we're following Cali, and they are traveling with their dad to the Kingdom of Helston, as the prince is a child and needs training because his father has disappeared and his older brother has died, and he needs training to kind of ascend the throne. And Cali's dad used to be kind of like the right-hand man of the king and is probably the best person for the job. So when he agrees to go, he lets Cali come along as his squire, and Cali would like to become a knight. However, in the Kingdom of Helston, they are very into sameness. They don't like anything that is different. And in Helston, girls have the ability to wield magic, and boys become squires and soldiers, etc. And for Cali, they've never wanted to play by the rules. The book actually starts off with Cali being with their mom, and Cali's mom is trying to force them to be a girl, and Cali keeps rebelling against that because Cali knows deep down they aren't a girl. And like I said, all Cali has ever wanted to be is a squire. Cali has no use for magic. So they go to Helston wanting to prove themselves. And once they're there, there is so much dead naming by using Cali's birth name, which they do not identify with. There are a lot of referring to them as lady. They are forced to kind of dress like a girl and do the things that are expected of girls in this kingdom. And Cali really struggles with that, even though they quickly realize that the prince really needs their dad. So it was a extremely hard read, because I got so angry on Cali's behalf that these people were being malicious towards Cali. And it was so hard to watch because I could tell how much it hurt Cali that nobody wanted to respect them and their desires and who they saw themselves as. So I think that's why I got a lower rating, because I'm probably not in the right frame of mind to be reading a book like that. But I did enjoy the way the story played out and getting to see Cali really grow into themselves throughout the book. So bearing that in mind, if that's something that's going to bother you, I would say put this book off until you're in a headspace where you can handle that. But I thought it was extremely well done, and it is the first in a series, so at some point I will get to go back to Cali and their friends and get to see more of their journey. Next, I started Keeper of Enchanted Rooms, and I'm on page 84. So this is a book about a guy named Merritt, and he ends up inheriting this house that kind of has a mind of its own, and is soon joined by Hulda, who has been trained into helping people kind of tame these magical houses. And she and Merritt are going to have to work together to convince this house that it doesn't want to kill Merritt. So we definitely get things from Merritt and I believe Hulda's point of view. But there is a third point of view that takes place maybe 30 years before the main POV, and it was not what I was expecting. So I walked into this book expecting a cozy fantasy, and it feels more borderline horror, and I don't know that I'm enjoying it. I haven't made a decision yet on if I'm going to DNF it, but I think it's likely, because I don't think it's going to get more than 3 stars. I don't see the point in reading a book that I'm not quite enjoying, that feels very not the genre I was hoping for, that ends up being, a 3-star read at best. So We'll see. I'll probably set it down for a couple days and see if I want to come back to it. But at the moment, I'm thinking it's a no, and I will probably end up DNFing it. And then the last update that I have is that I've started Daughter of the Moon Goddess. So I am on page 214. I'm really, really enjoying this. So this follows Xingyin, and she is the daughter of the Moon Goddess. And she's been hidden from the Celestial Emperor, who exiled her mother for stealing the elixir of immortality. And basically, her magic flares, she's discovered, and she kind of has to go on the run. And we're kind of following her journey from there as she adapts to being away from her moms for the first time and in the mortal realm, and trying to figure out a way to get back to her mom and free her mom from the prison that her mom is in. I'm really enjoying the magic in this world and kind of seeing Xingyin's growth, as she was a very sheltered child, obviously, you know, living with her mom and having very few people aware of her existence. So for her to show up here, it's been interesting to see how she's kind of gone through things. This book has a very, very fast pace. I like how quickly it's moving through things and we're seeing her journey and we're not just kind of rinse, wash, repeating. Because she is doing some things that, like, day to day would feel very the same if we went through every day with her. So I like that kind of pace of seeing kind of her journey. I'm very curious as to where this book is going and how we're going to get back to her mom. And yeah, there's a lot going on, and I'm really, really enjoying my read of this. So I look forward to finishing it in the relatively near future. So that's it. That's the end of January. I think I had a pretty good end of the week. I finally finished a long-awaited series end. I finished a book I have been putting off since December on birthday, even though I didn't want to read it. I might have a DNF on my hands, but they can't all be winners. And I got a couple of 4.5-star reads. 5-star reads have been particularly difficult to find this year so far, but I'm sure they're coming. I have faith that I will find books I love. So that's it for this week's vlog. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me moon emojis. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!